All right. Good evening, everyone. So we are in for the lecture on the theory of demand. I hope you can hear me. If you can hear me, can you unmute yourself and just respond? By
Yes,
intro
sir.
Okay, fine. That should be okay. Eniola Benson, I can see your video.
Yes, sir.
All right. Can I
Yes,
see
I can hear you, sir.
can I see the
Yes, sir.
others? Can you just put on your video? Let me just quickly look at you. Um, yeah. Can I see the other people? Okay, that should be Israel. I can cite Israel. Okay, Benson and Yola. Okay, who else is in? All right, who else is in?
Omotolani Lasisi.
Okay, Omotolani. Okay, so welcoming you to the second lecture. By introduction, my name remains Dr. Adebanwa. I don't know why we had a disconnect last week, Saturday, with the first lecture, which has gone already. I will be taking you on the theory of demand and supply, and I believe that as you've gone through, I expected you to have gone through the first topic. So let's look at the slides. The slides is a simple economic explanation on the theory of demand and supply. So let's go and look at the meaning of demand. Now, demand in economics means the quantity of a good that consumers are willing and able to buy. The quantity of a goods that consumers are willing and able to buy. So you can underline the word willing and able. If you look at the word now, I'm highlighting it. Please mute yourself. I'm highlighting it. You can see willing. So for a demand to be effective, you must be able, it must be what you can be willing, and then you must have the ability to buy, because once you don't have the ability to buy, that demand will be termed to be ineffective. Now let's move on. It says demand depends on some certain factors. We have the price, income, taste, fashion, weather, and other factors that affect demand. Now, I also want to establish the laws of demand. Now, the law of demand is majorly centered on an assumption, and that assumption is called ceteris paribus, a Latin word. Ceteris paribus means all things being equal. All things being equal. So if we say for the first law now, the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded, we are saying that all other factors are held constant. Now, when you hold all other factors constant, that is when you can say the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. And the reason for this is because of what we call utility maximization. That is, every consumer or every rational human being will want to buy more of a product that is a normal good at a lower price. When you buy it at a lower price, you are going to make higher satisfaction from it because it is a commodity that you like or you want or you need. So the higher the price will discourage you from getting the commodity at higher price, at higher quantity. So the more the price goes up, the lower the quantity demanded, and then vice versa. So I like to say that you can add and vice versa. The vice versa there means that the lower the price, the higher the quantity demanded. Okay, There are some other factors that we can look at when we are talking about the law of demand and supply. Income also affects it. We can say, let's go back there. We can say the higher the income of a consumer, the lower, the higher the income of a consumer, the higher the quantity demanded for a normal good. There are two types of goods in economics. We have normal goods and inferior goods. Normal goods are the one that obeys the law of demand, which says the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. But the inferior goods are those goods that even when the price comes down, people do not want to buy. And that shows that that commodity is an inferior commodity. Okay? So we can also establish a second law of demand by saying that the higher the income of a consumer, the higher the quantity demanded, and vice versa. Okay, now let's move on to look at the demand schedule. The demand schedule. Now, there is this table. If you look at your material, which I believe that you should have gotten access to it on your platform, is a table that shows the list of what a consumer wants to demand for at different prices. So it's a table that shows quantity demanded at different prices. But whenever you want to draw up a demand schedule, you must follow the law of demand. And the law of demand says if price goes lower, quantity goes up. And that's why you can see that there is an arrow here. There's an arrow here showing that the price is coming down. So when that means the lower the price, the higher the quantity demanded. So I'm expecting you to be able to draw a simple demand schedule by yourself. You should be able to draw a simple demand schedule by yourself. So that would be a quiz for you to answer. So the quiz, you can write it down. You can write it down. I can see Zat Olamilekon just coming in. So you can write this down. That will be a quiz. I will try and post it on your LMS. And by tomorrow, I'm expecting you to start assessing those quizzes, and then you try to submit them as part of your continual assessment. So draw a typical demand schedule showing the relationship between the price and quantity demanded for the following items. So you pick different construction items. The one that Eniola will pick must be different from the one that Daniel Essen will pick, must be different from what Amzat Olamide or Olamilekan Adewale will pick, and so on and so forth. So you must be able to pick a particular construction item, maybe cement, maybe tiles, maybe blocks, building blocks, maybe iron rods, maybe wood. So you now try to look at the different prices and the quantity demanded that a consumer will want. So you can try that. Now let's move on to look at the meaning of supply, because I think we are having March by 9 o'clock, and there's some Man U fans and Liverpool fans may want to watch the Nigerian match. So let's be conscious of that. So meaning of supply. Now, supply means the quantity producers are willing to sell. It depends on price, cost of production, and technology. Let me say that it's more than that. The factors affecting supply is more than that, but principally because I limited these slides to just 10 slides. Supply, the quantity supply will depend on price. So the higher the price, the higher the quantity supplied. I like you to write that down and note it. The higher the price, the higher the quantity supply. Unlike demand, demand is the opposite of supply. For demand, the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded because of utility maximization, because the consumer wants to maximize his utility. But when you now talk about the supply, the higher the price, the higher the quantity supply because of profit maximization. Because the producer will want to make more profit at a higher price. Now, another factor that determines supply is the cost of production. So the higher the cost of production, what do you think will happen to supply? So I want you to unmute yourself and let somebody answer that. So the higher the cost of production, what will happen to the quantity supply? Will it go up or will it come down? Daniel Essen. Daniel Essen. Unmute yourself and speak.
Sir, it will go down.
Okay. So the cost of production, thank you. If the cost of production is too high, that means the quantity supplied will be lowered or will reduce because the producer will not want to make a loss, and he will be careful that by the time he spends so much on producing, if he does not get a good buyer, it will not likely be in business. Okay, now let's look at technology. So what will happen to technology? If technology improves, what will happen to the quantity supplied? Amzat Olamilekan, unmute yourself and speak. So how does technology affect quantity supplied?
It creates awareness, sir.
It's not about awareness. I said, does it increase the quantity supplied or does it reduce the quantity supplied? That's what I want to hear.
It increases the quantity supply because the
Okay.
technology are good. It
Yeah.
should develop the aspect of the
Yes.
business.
Yes. So fantastic, because when you use machine to produce something, the quantity supplied of that thing will increase. Let me confess something to you. And that was why I was a bit angry with your governor, because he did not communicate well with me enough as I expected. He told me in the morning that we'll have a class, a live session by between 8 and 9. And that was all. And I was extremely busy in the day with meetings. So I've forgotten entirely. Just around 15 minutes to 8, in answer saying, they just want to remind me. And I said, that is not good enough. So I quickly had to come on board, try to send you the Zoom link, and try to find a way of preparing just these few slides. And that's why you can see that the slides are not too detailed like the other lecture we had earlier. So, but thanks to AI and thanks to ChatGPT, so I just had to quickly come up with this so that we can speak to the slides. So you discover that technology has helped, because if I have to start typing all this in less than 10 minutes, I don't think I would have finished it. Okay, so the use of technology will improve quantity supply. There are other factors that will affect quantity supply. So you need to check your material on the module and be sure that you can read up the other factors. If you have any issue, you are very free to mail me or to message me on WhatsApp. My WhatsApp number is 08038320753. So you could do a message or you could call if you need to for further clarification where necessary. Now, the law of supply, I've established that I said the higher the price, the higher the quantity supply, and this is because of profit maximization. Let's move on to look at the supply schedule. The supply schedule. Now, when we talk about the supply schedule, it also follows the law of supply. That means the higher the price, the higher the quantity supply. So if you look at that slide 5 now, you see that the arrows are going up. So when the arrows are going up, it means higher. And that is to say, let me type something now to let you have that in your material. That is to say that there is a positive relationship between price and the quantity supplied of a commodity, of a normal good. Okay. All right. However, there is a negative relationship, negative or inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. Quantity demanded. And that means that is the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. So in a case where you have higher and lower of anything, that means there is an inverse relationship. But when you have higher or lower, that means there is a positive relationship between them. Okay. Now let's move on to demand curve illustration. Demand curve illustration. Now look at that slide 6 very well. Look at that slide 6 very well. You'll discover that the demand curve, and I want you to write that down. From that graph, the demand curve slopes downwards. You can see it is sloping downwards. It's going down. It's sloping from top left to bottom right. And that is because of the law that says the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. Now, let's take the second one. You see that under the supply curve, the supply is going upwards. You can see it. So the higher the price, from 20 naira to 40 naira to 50 naira to, by that your vertical side, that is the price. By your horizontal side, where they wrote low, medium, and high, that is your quantity side. So supposing I have the space now, I would have just edited this to have price on the side where they wrote 20, 40, 60, 80. Then on the quantity side, where they wrote low, medium, high, you put the quantity there. So from these two graphs, let's come back to slide 6. You can bring out the demand curve. So another quiz for you, you can write. The quiz, you can write. Another quiz for you is that, write this down. From slide 6 and 7, from slide 6 and 7, construct or draw the demand and supply schedule. Draw the demand and supply schedule. So from slide 6 and 7, draw the demand and supply schedule respectively. So this one now, your answer will be the same. So draw the demand and supply schedule. That means you are drawing a table, just 2 tables to show the demand and supply schedule. But it must follow the law of demand and supply, okay? Let's move on. I want to round up by 8:40 so that we can take 5 minutes questions if need be, and then we'll close up. Okay, now let's look at slide 8. So when you bring the two together, look at how it will look like. You see that red line? The red line there, that one goes up. That is your supply curve. Because if you go back to slide 7, you will see that that is in red. You can see it. That's the supply curve. If you go back to slide 6, let's go back to slide 6, you see that that one is the demand curve. It slopes downwards. So if you now bring the two together in slide 8, you will now have what we call the equilibrium. So, and with that, you see that we have established the equilibrium. Let's move on because we will soon be timed out in 10 minutes time. So we have what we call the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. The equilibrium price is where demand and supply equates together. And at this price, there is no shortage or surplus. So you discover that here, you discover that here there is no shortage or surplus, okay? Now, if you now have anything above this stage, if you look at that slide 8, I'm coming back there, anything above 60, the equilibrium price is 60 naira, and the equilibrium quantity is on medium. Now, anything above it is excess supply. Anything below 60 is excess demand. Note that down. Then the last slide is the importance of demand and supply. So what is the knowledge you are trying to put across to you as quantity and surveying students? Now, your understanding of the market demand and supply for any commodity, any building material you want to buy is that, number one, it will help you to determine a optimal market price. You can write it down. Optimal market prices. Let's put it there. Optimal. And when you are talking of optimal market prices, you are talking about the best price that is cost effective enough for you to buy certain commodities. Now, number 2, importance of demand and supply. It guides production and consumption decisions. And number 3, it is used by government for policy decisions. Not only that, it also guides investors. It guides investors as to what area of business to embark upon. And also we can say another point that it adds, it contributes to knowledge. It contributes to knowledge of the students interested in understanding markets, dynamics. All right. So because of our time, we're going to stop here and then ask questions before we are logged out. So we have about 5 minutes. Let's ask questions, about 3 minutes. So any question, so you can unmute yourself and ask question. We just had an introduction to demand and supply. After this class, I'm going to send you some videos that will also assist you further, that will provide you some knowledge. And I will equally expect you to go through your module to read more. And I also want to advise that you can also check my YouTube page if you want to have some other knowledge in this topic and some other topics. I'm going to make that available through your governor, so you can visit my YouTube page and then you can check other content on YouTube that has to do with principles of economics. All right, so question, is there any question? We have about just 5 minutes. Questions on the
Good
theory
evening,
of
sir.
yeah, good evening.
Sir, yes, sir. I have a question. It's about the notes. I wanted to ask that, are we going to be getting a note? And about the first quiz you gave us, I didn't hear the question you said in the first quiz.
I don't have record for cramming quizzes, so as I give you, I expect you to be alert. So I don't know which one you are referring to in the by first quiz. Is it the first lecture or you are referring to today? Like today now, I've given you
No,
about,
today's lecture, sir, the first quiz you gave us.
I think you should check the recording. So once you check the recording, you pick it from there.
Okay, sir, thank you.
I'll post the recording to you now because I just said it extemporaneously. So I didn't really pick any of those quizzes to ask. But once you
Okay,
check
sir.
the recording. Now for the notes, I expected that you have you have access to your course material on your LMS. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, have you been able to access your course material on your LMS?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so fine. So I don't think there's any notes again that I have materials, I have textbooks that I've written on these areas. The hard copies are available. So, but since you already have your material, you can just read them. If there's any time you come to the college or you have what's it called, physical contact, you can still add more knowledge to what you have from your material. I can make those textbooks accessible to you.
Sorry, sir. You said
Yeah,
the course materials on the
Emmanuel Festus, is that Emmanuel?
yes, sir.
Go ahead.
You said something. You said course materials on the LMS.
Yes.
What we have on the LMS is how will I explain it? Is more like read and do the weekly assignment. That is
Okay.
what is there.
Okay.
And
So
that element, we are not really depending on that element because all of a sudden the elements can stop working for just no particular, it can just stop working. So that is the thing.
So how many of those read and do quizzes have you done? How many of them have you done?
Out of me, I've done three out of all of them.
No problem. You can have access to further materials when we meet. I think we're going to have a 2 weeks 2 weeks contact. So you visit me and you can get some additional materials. That's no problem. But it's at a cost too. But you can equally get from YouTube. I will try and send you my YouTube handle so you can check them up, and then you can do some further reading from that. And if you prefer the soft copy, I think you can also have the soft copy. We can discuss that also later. Okay. All right. Any other question for clarity? We have just about 2 minutes because this is just a trial version of the Zoom that I'm using. Yeah. So any other question?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. All right. How many of us are in this section, if I may know?
We are 9.
9. Okay. All right, no problem. So thank you everyone for being in this lecture. So we're going to have another class by weekend. So the governor will discuss with me so that we can schedule it appropriately. Okay. All right. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, sir. Thank
Yes.
you, sir. Sir, please don't forget about the link for the recording you did, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
I will try and process that now. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Good night.